Warning. The following podcast is utter nonsense and may cause agoraphobia, kleptomania, insomnia, and oppositional defiance disorder. We are required by law to provide you with this disclaimer for hazardous materials.
Welcome back to Hazardous Materials, Slicing Up Freshness. I'm Gideon Gonzalez, and with me as always,
Casey Johnson.
And this week we're going to be talking about our favorite stories that maybe not have inspired episodes of the new Disney Plus show What If, but they also got the Watcher in them telling us about stories throughout the multiverse. So
Watcher from various degrees of good art to bad art.
yeah, you really, as an anthology series, it's always a mixed bag with What If.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get some of the best comics you've ever read, and sometimes you don't.
No.
So, Casey, we're going to be counting down our individual top threes, going back and forth. So, what's your number three?
Okay, so all three of mine are from the classic 77
Mhm.
to 84 series, which is, I think, ran about 47 issues. Number three is the first one I ever. Well, actually, I wonder if I want to do that. Number three. Yeah, I'm going to do number three. Number three is What If Spider-Man's Clone Lived? A lot of these what ifs turned out to be stuff that, well, happened.
Eventually, editorial is like, we need a new hook. Flip, 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 flip. We got it.
So I noticed that a lot of things with the writers, it seemed like they were grasping onto old what if storylines and turning them into big 6-issue long epics like the Spider Clone thing. But you also had like, what if Jane Foster found the Hammer of Thor,
Mhm.
which had one of the most cringeworthy pages I've ever seen. Check this out, where Jane doesn't get the man she wants, but Odin steps in for the scoop.
Macking in on your son's gal.
And the
Classy
next
guy.
page, boom, married to Odin. That's it. That's the end of the storyline. Way to go, Jane. All right.
You know, another one kind of jumps out at me like that is, what if Dr. Doom was a hero? Which makes you go, but he already was.
Yeah. I mean, I loved, what was it? It wasn't Infamous Iron Man. It was...
No, it was Infamous Iron Man.
It was Infamous
Mhm.
Iron Man? Okay, I was getting mixed up with Superior Iron Man, which I loved.
Yeah.
Except they had no real ending to it at all.
A bummer.
Yeah. But yeah, What If Spider-Man's Clone Lived? Basically has Peter going unconscious during the fight with his clone, and his clone is still perfectly enraptured with the...
Bubbles.
Yeah, he still thinks that he's the real Peter, but he keeps talking about, weird stuff like, all my clothes are all too big, because the Spider Clone is actually slightly smaller than him, because Professor Warren cloned Peter from way back when he was in high school,
Mhm.
and right around, Amazing 25 or 26. This is even before Gwen Stacy. So the clone has no memory of Mary Jane, except the fact that, she was a neighbor or Gwen Stacy at all. So then when the clone of Gwen Stacy, which Warren also created, Warren is the Jackal, by the way. Here's the Jackal. He created Gwen Stacy because he was enraptured with Gwen Stacy. So you got Gwen Stacy 2 kind of running around. And so he's talking to clones like, well, what are we going to do about this thing? And he's like, what's your name again? Gwen? No big deal. I just have memory holes. I'm still Peter Parker. And so he pretty much goes through the whole thing trying to catch up on this lifestyle that where he's no longer a high school student, but he's an Empire State College student. He doesn't know where things are. His clothes don't fit well because apparently Peter got a little buff between the times.
Fighting the Green Goblin will do that.
Yeah, and it also shows Marvel time in its proper presence, because apparently the time when Peter Parker was in high school up till when Peter Parker was going on, I guess in 1981, it was 3 years. It's like that's a long stretch of issues
Well,
to
no, if
dictate
it was
3
the
issues.
clone time, the original Clone Saga was like in 75.
Was it?
Yeah.
I wasn't reading comics at that time.
Yeah, so
No idea.
That fits pretty well with the pretty standard 1 year of in-universe time is 4 years of real time.
So this issue is a double-sized thing, and also it came out during the time of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and that's what they showcased
Mhm.
on the cover of this thing. And check out Spidey. It's double-sized. Most of it is Peter going through the motions of trying to figure this out, all the while the Kingpin is trying to get rid of him in classic supervillain style. I mean, we're talking like luring him up to the top of a roller coaster so that he can detach a special coaster car. It's got little guns, and he chases him like
As
Dr.
one
Robotnik.
does.
It's classic Kingpin crap. But after a while, PD2 finally figures out that he's not Spider-Man. He goes back to the canister where he's got Peter Parker locked up in. And he's like, I could just disconnect everything and be the original Peter because I'm still a person. Or I could throw you into a smokestack or something like that, which is how the original clone was apparently gotten rid of.
Turned to bubbles.
But in the strangest thing happened. Now, okay, if you've never read What If, and you probably haven't even watched the series yet, What If does not tend to end well.
Always a bummer.
It tends to leave on a serious bummer. We're going to kill at least half of the people, and whoever went down this dark path is going to regret it. Doesn't happen this way. As a matter of fact, everything comes out super rosy, everybody lives, and the two Peters decide to be Spider-Man and Peter Parker on alternate days of the week. And that's how it ends.
Okay, you get weekends.
That's exactly what happened. Peter says, I'll take Monday and Wednesday. You take Tuesday and Thursday. I get MJ. You get Kingpin. He goes, how's that the way to treat your younger brother? The end. Great issue. It was one of the first it was the first What If I ever got into. So it really stuck in my memory.
Nice. My number 3 is a more recent one. This was from about 4 or 5 years ago, where Marvel did a whole wave of What If one-shots. And there's some pretty good ones in there. I liked the What If Flash Thompson was Spider-Man was one of the ones in there. There's a really good... oh my god, I'm totally blanking. It was What If Magic was Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, that's a great one.
Written by Leah Williams. I really enjoyed that one. But my favorite of that batch was What If Thor was raised by frost giants by Ethan Sachs and Michelle Bandini.
I don't know anything about that.
So Thor, as you can see on this cover, has sick blue skin. He's got a big old chunk of ice for a hammer. Looks awesome. I love it. Love the design. But the premise is basically that when Odin comes to invade Jotunheim, he gets his shit kicked in by Laufey. And Laufey is like, all right, let's follow the Rainbow Bridge. Let's take Asgard. And so they go and they basically do to Asgard what he did to Jotunheim. They kill everyone.
Wow.
And
so is that the dark ending or?
No, this is the dark beginning.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they kill everyone. They kidnap Thor and what's Thor's mom's name? Frigga?
Frigga.
Yeah, they kidnap Thor and Frigga. They keep Frigga as a prisoner. Thor is being raised by Laufey because he's like, hey, this one's got fight, unlike my son, Loki. He's just a little chump.
This piece of crap over here.
And Loki is like, oh, man. But he's bonding with Thor, even though Thor is, like, boisterous and, like, first trying to, like, kill the frost giants.
This really feels familiar.
Yeah. He's trying to kill the frost giants, but they're, like, beating him into submission. He's, like, becoming a true frost giant over Loki. Loki, meanwhile, starts a friendship with Frigga, who misses her own son. Oh, I don't believe either Frigga nor Thor know the other's alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's that extra added dimension. And Loki is friends with both of them and keeps that to himself because he wants both of their love only for him. He doesn't want them to know about the other.
I know that sometimes the Loki from the comics feels really disconnected from the way that Loki is characterized in MCU, but that issue makes me wonder if this would actually work in an episode.
Yeah, it's good. And the little frost giant Loki's so cute. He's got these little like cool head tattoos and it's a great design. But so Loki is learning magic from Frigga while Thor is becoming a great warrior prince, eventually killing one of Laufey's generals to prove his worthiness and getting his sick ice hammer that he can smash the shit out of people with.
Nice.
And finally, they're like they go back to Asgard where Frigga is being held captive. She's basically been like held in a cell protected by frost giants that Loki just slips in and out.
For a minute there, I thought you said hell in a cell.
Hell in a cell. They threw Frigga 3 stories off of Asgard to the Rainbow Bridge
in 1998.
But no, they're of course found out, and both Thor and Frigga feel betrayed. Thor finds out because he's like, an Asgardian, and blasts to kill Loki. And Frigga jumps in the way, and Loki's like, you killed your own mom. And Thor was like, I hate you, Loki. You deceived me.
Dark fate. What if shows its ugly head?
I banish you to Midgard. And so the ending is that Loki is telling a couple of children like the story of Thor and Loki, and like a storm starts overhead.
Oh my.
It does end on a kind of a nice note, because Thor like leaves Loki this like pendant that Loki had made him when he first became a frost giant. So it's like maybe they can reconcile, but yeah, a true bummer ending, as all What If should have.
Yep, because Frigg had to bite the big one for that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of Asgard had to die.
Yeah. Number 2 was really interesting to find, and once I found out about its existence, now I need to own it. And it's a really old one. This is actually What If number 9 from like back in 1978, 77, something like that.
Part of that first run, and they got those square spines.
Yeah, it's basically what if the Avengers were active in the 50s. I guess this was an opportunity for Marvel to dig up their old Atlas and Timely stuff from
and
the
refresh
50s.
the copyright on.
And exactly, and try to do something with it. What I had no idea about is this was where the Agents of Atlas came from.
Yeah.
No clue. And I was like, I don't remember really buying that, because I read the blurb right before I went into the issue, and I was like, it's probably just going to have a couple of the members. It has all of them.
Yeah.
It's the Human Robot, Marvel Man, Gorilla Man, Venus, Namora, and 3D Man, which we obviously never joined the Agents of Atlas.
We got Triathlon.
Yeah, we got Triathlon, and 3D Man was a 50s era hero. He was the big thing that was happening for Marvel in the 50s. And it all starts exactly like you would expect an Agents of Atlas episode. It's got Agent Wu on the run from a character whose original name we're not going to say.
Golden Claw is the new name.
Golden Claw, as he's called. And basically, I guess Agent Wu romanced Golden Claw's daughter. So there's some bad blood to be had there.
Sometimes you got a Mac.
And Golden Claw does this thing where he kidnaps President Eisenhower.
As one does.
So Jimmy's putting together this team, and he finds it wasn't 3D Man. It was, I'm losing track of the order, but I don't think it's not important what order he finds them on.
But he gets the Agents of Atlas.
He gets basically the Agents of Atlas, and he picks up Gorilla Man from Africa, runs into 3D Man in New York, and Marvel Man. Venus shows up, who apparently has an interesting power where she turns the weapons of war into weapons of love. And this is how you get the human robot, because the human robot is out to kill. When it was created in the 50s, it had its command stuck on kill, so it was killing everybody.
It happens.
So she got a hold of it, and it was weapons of war, so she turned it into a weapon of love, and now it's their friend.
So
and that's how you get the human robot. So they fight these 50s era villains, and Marvel really dug 50s era villains. I thought this is way over the top, because it's got this big green hairy dude with a hammered sickle on his chest. You got another guy called the Cold Warrior. Really on the nose of their communist hate here in the 50s, but they showcased on the bottom where these things actually appeared in 50s era Marvel comics. It's like, wow, the Red Scare was big in the 50s. So they fight, they win. They release Eisenhower, and Eisenhower's all worried about all this activity might hurt my poor heart. Because apparently Eisenhower was old in the 50s.
He had a bad ticker.
Yeah, so they rescue Eisenhower, and the day is won. And this whole thing is being narrated by the Avengers, because I guess they had some time to kill. And they were sitting around going, what happened if the team, the spirit of our team was alive in the 50s? And so they go through this whole thing, and in the very end, all the Avengers are picking the equivalent of who they are.
There come a day unlike any other.
Yeah, so like the Beast is like, I like this Gorilla Man, but my haircut's much cooler. And the Vision identifies with, of course, the human robot, and Thor with Venus, and that whole thing. And Iron Man identifies with Marvel Boy because his lasers look like repulsors.
That one was a stretch.
That was a bit of a stretch there, Shellhead. But yeah, that's what happens. And good on Marvel for taking this team and running with it, and probably being one of my favorite all-time Marvel teams.
Good on Jeff Parker for being like, hey, I really like this one What If as a kid. What if I convinced Marvel to let me write a few books on that?
What if I polished it and turned it into a freaking gemstone?
I love his Gorilla Man. He's basically just like, what if Sterling Archer was a big monkey?
That's exactly what happened too. And when they went to go find Gorilla Man, they didn't realize he was talking. So when they landed, and they fought off all these animals that were fighting Gorilla Man because they could sense he was something else. And then Gorilla Man's, thanks very much for that, Joe. Just real 50s man kind of voice to him.
Amazing.
And he's like, oh my God, you could talk, in typical Mr. Ed freak out.
Of course.
It was great. I loved it. I now need to own this
get
issue.
one.
I have to have this issue.
So my number 2, it's near the end of that volume 1 run. It's number 44 with a sweet Bill Sienkiewicz cover. And that is, what if Captain America was thought out today? But of course, today being the mid-'80s.
Yes.
It's a Peter Gillis and Smilin' Sal Buscema joint. And this one, so as you can tell by the title, the concept is the what if, where things go wrong, is you may remember from the now classic Avengers number 4 that Namor found a group of Inuit people worshiping Captain America's frozen body.
Yeah.
And he was like,
He was all
"Bah!"
propped up and everything.
Yeah, he's like, get this idol out of here, and slapped it. And then the Avengers on the trail for Namor found Cap. Well, this time he took a right turn at Albuquerque, so he didn't see them. So Cap still was just chilling there, and the Avengers were like, well, we can't find Namor. Better try again tomorrow. So Cap stays in the ice. And then we cut to to the modern day, where
which at the time of this issue, what year was that?
This would have been like 84, 85, somewhere in that ballpark.
All right.
And the Avengers are like, well, we don't really have a leader to unite us, so we're breaking up. No more Avengers. And Rick Jones is disgusted by this turn of events.
As he should be.
Someone else is disgusted by these events, and that is a janitor working in a secret military installation who is seeing the moral decay of America. And so he's like, we gotta bring back old time values. And he thaws out Captain America and Bucky, who are in a couple of tubes. And so they go and they start smashing up crime and making a name for themselves and endorsing politicians. But then when they go back to their apartment, it's not Steve Rogers and James Buchanan Barnes. It's a 1950s Cap commie smasher who the government has apparently kept in a tube. And they're like, well, everyone believes we're the real Captain America, so we'll just lean into it. And so he goes really hard onto investing in, and I'm not making this up, the America First Party, if you can believe it. It's incredibly on the nose.
It's incredibly on
In case you're wondering if we were living through Reagan too.
Oh my God.
So, however, the midpoint is there's a nuclear submarine swimming around up north. And what do they bump into? But Captain America.
All right. We're going to swing around this story.
And so they bring him in, and one of the guys, they're like, oh man, he's been mostly seems like he's been frozen for a while, but he's pretty much mostly thawed out because he's been in the water.
That's kind of rough.
Yeah. And so one of the guys is like, hey, he's dressed up like that Captain America jerk. He's one of those Sentinels of Liberty. Bunch of racists and da-da-da-da.
Wow, Captain America's rep went down to tubes.
Exactly. So Steve wakes up and is able to fight him off, and the captain's like, I knew a guy, I remember seeing this guy on the TV when I was a kid. This is the real deal. So he takes him back to America, which is now very different ever since Commie Smasher came back, because man, it's so prescient. It's such a smart book that recognized already where issues were going during the Reagan era and extrapolating on it. So there's an entire sequence where they talk about the propping up of a free press to give the illusion of the First Amendment being maintained. But the only newsman who isn't bought out is J. Jonah Jameson,
because J. Jonah Jameson is nothing if not a pillar of integrity.
And he is secretly backing and running weapons for the Resistance, which is led by Nick Fury, Peter Parker.
I knew he was in it.
And Snap Wilson.
Snap Wilson?
He never became the Falcon because he never met Captain America.
Oh, God.
And so they see Cap and they're like, hey, it's that jingoistic bastard. Also hysterical.
The word jingoistic.
Yeah. But 50s Commie Smasher Cap, it turns out the backers of the America First Party are the Secret Empire, the Serpent Society, and of course, it wasn't Hydra, but it was another It was another one of those.
Not Ultimatum.
Groups. No, it wasn't my boys. Ultimatum.
I could totally derail this whole thing and make you do Ultimatum
God, don't
again.
do it. I can't. I'm not strong enough. But so the guy, Fake Cap, is holding a rally.
Mm-hmm.
Big ol' and also the forgot to mention the Resistance's base is in Harlem, which has been walled off by the government.
Of course it has.
As he is Commie Smasher Cap is constantly railing against radical blacks and Jewish bankers. So
God.
prescient. Some things never change. So
this book would never get made today.
No, it pulls no punches.
Oh my
And know who else
God.
doesn't? Steve Rogers, who decks the Fake Cap while he's giving his like super nationalist speech, and they're just like brawling in this like.
I mean, in the classic Captain America's one cover where he decks Hitler on the stage.
They don't do a direct homage to it, but they really should have.
They really
I feel
should
like,
have.
and they like Cap makes no bones about calling the guy a Nazi.
Oh, that's
Like,
great.
It rules. And meanwhile, Cap's kind of crappy Avengers, which Hawkeye is the only here, and that bummed me out seeing my boy join up with Fake Cap.
Mm-hmm.
But oh man, this really is. I bet Nick Spencer read this issue.
Well, I mean, 50s Cap went on to become a modern villain,
Mhm.
the Great Director,
Yeah,
who was a flat-out Nazi.
yeah. Cap Commie Smasher, man.
Yeah, he wore a white outfit with a red Nazi armband on it. That was his shtick.
Woo!
Wow.
And so Cap beats the holy hell out of Fake Cap and
Mhm.
gives a speech. And I'm just gonna pull it up really quick because I gotta read it verbatim. Okay. Listen to me, all of you out there. You were told by this man, your hero, that America is the greatest country in the world. He told you that Americans were the greatest people, that America could be refined like silver, could have the impurities hammered out of it and shine more brightly. He went on about how precious America was, how you needed to make sure it remained great. And he told you anything was justified to preserve that great treasure, that pearl of great price that is America. Well, I say America is nothing without its ideals. Its commitment to the freedom of all men, America is a piece of trash. A nation is nothing. A flag is a piece of cloth. I fought Adolf Hitler not because America was great, but because it was fragile. I knew that liberty could be as easily snuffed out here as in Nazi Germany. As a people, we were no different from them. When I returned, I saw that you nearly did turn America into nothing. And the only reason you're not less than nothing is that it's still possible for you to bring freedom back.
Man, that's almost as good as the "No You Move" speech.
It's my favorite Captain America speech ever.
Oh
And
my
reading this
God.
issue, I was just like, God, this
I'm totally
rules.
stealing that from you, and I'm posting it somewhere.
It's so good. What if number 44? What if Captain America were unfrozen today? Just a masterpiece.
No, while we're talking about what if Captain America covers before we get into our number ones here, how about what if Captain America were president? And that really
President
cool
Cap.
inauguration cover they had for this, that's really classy. I
good
mean, as
stuff.
far as covers go, I really love that.
If nothing else, like What If gave us some great covers, and the Silver Age DC tradition of what I gotta see that.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh God, the olden days where Superman and Batman was complete dicks to everybody.
keep digging your own graves, Jimmy and Robin. I have a code against killing, and with Batman with a gun, so I'll do the honors. It's one of my favorite covers ever.
So while we were going over the different what ifs that we liked, I was talking to you about a gemstone that I had recently come across, and I was so flabbergasted that it existed that I needed to get a hold of it. And I thought that I had precious new information, and then of course you told me it was already on your list. So we both know what our number one is. If you want to introduce it.
Oh, I have my own number one as well. but-
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay. You subtracted it? Oh,
Yeah, I gave.
that's a bold
I'm
statement.
giving you the honor.
All right.
Casey's number one is what if number 35? What if Elektra had lived?
Yes. What if Elektra had lived is basically a direct spinoff of probably one of the finest comic books that's ever been written and drawn, as far as I'm concerned, which is Daredevil 181. This is like back in 1982. This was a double-sized issue. And the whole book is great. It's not a part one. It's not a part two. It takes an entire story and sticks it into one book, which is rare for the time.
Mhm.
The thing starts off with Bullseye, who's been in prison for a while. I think since Daredevil 165 when he completely lost his gourd and thought everybody looked like Daredevil, so he was killing everybody he saw. Great issue, by the way. So he's in prison, and he's about to be interviewed on television. And Punisher, who is also in prison in a great non-skull shirted cameo, comes up to Bullseye and hey, listen, I found out about some security holes, and I think you should exploit them. And Bullseye's like, well, why would you tell me something like that? Because I know you'll do something stupid and get killed. Bullseye does do something stupid, but survives. But this issue,
he gets got.
He gets killed.
A glorious full-page spread of Bullseye just getting lit the hell up.
So Punisher got his way in this, and Bullseye does not go free to find out that Kingpin has replaced him with Elektra. Therefore, kill Elektra to replace her spot as the chief assassin. That's the whole point of this whole thing. It's clear to me that this issue came out very soon after that, because
I believe it came out like a month or two after. Like, it's because it exists within the issues of Miller's Daredevil.
Yeah, which, this is written and drawn by
Frank the Tank himself,
Thank
Frank
you.
Miller.
Back when he was talented. And I will not retract that statement. Frank Miller had a time when he was glorious, and now he's not. But back in the 80s, he was the stuff. And I was going through issues of What If, trying to figure this out. And I saw, what if Elektra lived? And I was still going through the idea of making a list of what ifs that really came true. Because Elektra did live, in a way. So I cracked this issue.
From a certain point of view.
Exactly. And I cracked this issue, and what surprised me is that this is also written and drawn by Frank Miller. Blew me away. He even reused one of his own pages, which is that page where Elektra's driving Foggy Nelson somewhere, and she's about to do him in. And then she finds out, you know Matt.
You remember me.
So now I can't kill you because you're Matt's friend.
That
page is in there.
I really love the framing device for this story is the Watcher telling a stressed 616 Daredevil at Elektra's grave. It's so good. And again, it makes it part of Frank Miller's run, because this isn't just totally divorced the Watcher going, yeah, check out this weird shit I saw the other day. It's full on integrated into Frank Miller's story, because hearing this tale of another Daredevil, another Elektra, gives Matt closure with his Elektra, essentially.
Which is really strange, considering that Frank Miller's I keep screwing up his name in my head. Frank Miller's run on this has been completely noir the entire time. So for this what if, I guess in a way it turns it on its head, because he makes this noir what if that has this really upbeat ending if you don't focus on the reality of the real ending in the real world. 616.
And I don't think you actually ever see Uatu as Uatu. You just see a man in a trench coat and a hat who talks like Uatu and is
clearly
the narrator for this story. Yeah.
But basically the wrap up that I'm skipping out on is, instead of Bullseye going out to kill not Daredevil, but Elektra, because she's the chief assassin, it's now Mr. Slaughter and his group of assassins. So he's got this group of what basically comes down to skilled street thugs are now going to go after Elektra, and they're just not as good as Bullseye. So
he's magic.
Totally trumps them all, just clowning them left and right. Oh, God, I really need to get rid of that word and never use it again. She completely clowns this entire crew of dudes and gets slightly wounded in the arm, finds Matt instead of dying in his arms like she originally did in 818 or 181.
616.
And the issue 181. And so they run off somewhere and live their life on some Caribbean island.
It's like the ending of the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's happy until you turn the page and you see that Matt is at Elektra's grave, and shadowy Watcher's like, hey, remember that one time? Dick move, Watcher. Dick move. But this, I cannot believe how good this issue is, and I have to have it in the collection.
It's incredible. So my number one is actually the first What If I ever read, and that is What If Volume 2, number 4, That is What If Spider-Man Kept the Alien Costume, written by Danny Fingeroff, and drawn in what I believe is his first time drawing Spider-Man, like, officially, Mark Bagley.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you can see traces of where he would go in this 1988-89 issue. It's really cool.
You know how much I love Mark Bagley.
You got to read it for yourself. It's amazing. So, obviously, the place where we zig instead of zagging is that instead of immediately going to Reed Richards
And-
when he starts feeling weird about the suit,
Yeah.
Reed Richards isn't home, and so he goes.
So basic.
So he goes to Kurt Connors,
Uh-huh.
who's like, "Well, man, I don't really know about aliens." He's like, "Sit in the MRI thingy. We'll do a CAT scan," and the symbiote feeds off of the radiation from the CAT scan and increases its bond with Peter.
God damn it, Connors.
And so he's able to see Reed the next day, but Reed's like, "This thing is totally bonded to you now."
You completely killed the
You
whole
goofed it up.
situation by going to this hack before you go to the smartest man in the frickin' world.
So they keep Pete in a tube, and he's like, "Brr," but he's like, Venom's out and breaks out and going crazy. And what the symbiote is looking for is a stronger host, because it realizes now, having like watched the Fantastic Four, is like, oh, there are beings more powerful than Spider-Man here.
Mm-hmm.
And so he finds the Hulk, and he jumps onto the Hulk.
Oh, God.
And as he jumps off of Peter Parker, he leaves behind a desiccated ancient man, because he's just been full on feeding off of Peter.
I think I've actually heard about this
It
now.
rules. And so Black Cat, the Avengers, and the FF are like, "It's okay, Peter. Like, you're looking better." And he's like, "No, I'm dying." He's
No.
he's like, "That thing ate all my life force and was powerful enough to overcome the Hulk, who has a big old Venom mouth now."
Okay, so
But
I
it
was
was-
going to ask if this was actually written or drawn after Venom first appeared.
I believe, yeah, it would have been like the same year, because he's got, like, he doesn't have the wild fangs. He's got those.
Oh, he's got
big-
the proper
he's got the
chompers.
chompers, He's got
the only good thing that McFarlane ever did.
Hey, man, we don't.
I'm
The
gonna
Todd Father Spider-Man run is undisputed.
I know
Heavyweight champion.
some of the stuff that McFarlane's done afterwards is
Yeah,
really
I'm
kind
not-
of sold his reputation.
He's a complicated man, is what I'm saying. But anyways, so the Avengers are like, "All right, what we're gonna do?" And Reed's like, "Well, I got this cool gun I built, and I can like juice it up with using some of Peter's notes that he's been taking and letting me know about, and these tests I've been running on his blood." They're like, "Cool." So we're gonna have to track him and find him. Couldn't be that hard to find a Venom-powered Hulk.
Yeah, no kidding.
But in the meantime, Pete, as an old man, goes to see Aunt May and tell her goodbye. But just like, as, "Hey, like, I work with Peter at the Bugle, and like, we haven't seen him for a few days. And I just wanted to let you know that he loved you." And it's just like, ugh.
Wow, Peter's death scene has really taken some time.
And yeah, so but as he's leaving, he has a heart attack and dies.
Oh, of course.
And so the Avengers have a funeral for him, and they're all like, "He was our boy. He's a cool dude. Let's go kick Hulk's ass."
Yeah.
And also at the funeral is Black Cat and the Kingpin, who the Kingpin makes Black Cat an offer. And also, Black Cat's been throughout this issue. Like,
Okay.
she's been like a pretty major player in it. But so they finally track down the Hulk. He's smashing shit up. They go in. Johnny Storm runs in first. "You done. Get out of here." They send in Thor, who the symbiote jumps onto him, and he's got this gnarly, like, long black hair, and he's got all his Thor powers. Like, they send in Monica after him, and he just absorbs her into his hammer and shoots her back.
How are you not getting off on this, Brooke?
It's sick. It's so rad. And but then they send in the big gun.
Okay.
And by the way, this fight's happening at Mount Rushmore.
Of course it is.
They send in Black Bolt,
Oh my God.
who just shouts at him, makes Mount Rushmore collapse. Hell yeah. And they're like, "We did it. We freed Thor. He's okay." And like, "Well, the symbiote, it's still alive. Let's get it in a jar." And you see a big laser comes out and fries it, and it's Black Cat. And she's holding one of Reed's guns. He's like, "But I only made the one." And she was like, "Yeah, but I'm the greatest thief in the world. I broke in and I stole your plans. And I sold them to the one man with the resources and scientists able to replicate it, the Kingpin."
Yeah.
And all it cost her was that she now works for the Kingpin for life. but she did it for love.
Oh, zappity zap.
There's a great line and speech where she talks about how it's like Spider-Man like would give his life for all of you, and none of you like would do the same for him. Like you were just gonna let this thing live. Like it almost destroyed the world, and y'all wanted to put it in a tube and experiment on it. No, like someone had to do Peter justice.
We're gonna be cooking that thing with microwaves. Thank you.
It's just it's such a good story. It's a great bummer ending. What if you get to see cool shit you wouldn't get to see in the main universe until, of course, the last few years we've been over Venomed. But as a kid, that was cool as hell. Like, you never really saw the Avengers and the Spider-Man realms cross over that much. Like, the Marvel fiefdoms were pretty clean cut outside of the occasional crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sandman might join the Avengers for a couple issues. The X-Men and Avengers rarely ever saw eye to eye. Follow us on the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter, the Patreon, whatever other socials we got. I can't keep up with it all.
No, we can't.
Yeah, maybe give us some money, give us some comments, give us a like, a subscribe.
Tell us a social network that we don't even know anything about.
Tell your friends. Most importantly, have a great week.